First of all, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time, Ms. Castle. I mean, from what I hear, you're doing some phenomenal work
Thank
in the
you.
community because you're a change maker, right? They're calling you a change maker. And so I feel honored and humbled to be able to interview you. Just to give you a little bit of information about me, my name is Colinda Hunter. I am a school social worker at Museum Academy, and I am really into anything that helps to impact the community, especially marginalized communities, and how do we make change. And so I'm loving this, and I can't wait to dive into this interview.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for having me. Thank you guys for selecting me. It's funny because I got like a you know how Facebook the reminders. I
Yep.
got a reminder that at one of the Urban League conferences, I was selected as a change maker, and I was just like, how funny is that? It's like so spooky, and it was like years ago, and it like popped up, and I was just like, huh, look at
You were
God.
walking into it. You were walking into it before you knew it.
Yep, 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 yep.
So, Miss Castle, and I'm interviewing Miss Janice Castle, and she is going to tell us all about the change that she's doing in the community. So, can you share a little bit about how you got involved in community engagement and how did this path lead you to where you are today?
You want the long story or the short? No, just
Whichever you feel like sharing.
so for me, my mom migrated myself and my brother to Hartford back in 90 93, and we came here from a small island from Grenada, and it was one of those things where you had to like assimilate. And I always joke to folks when you came in. I went to Fox Middle, went to Weaver, and it was one of those things where you had two options: you were either Jamaican or American, right? And because of the West Indian background, and so all of those adjusting and trying to navigate and find our way, and somehow, with all of the blessings and all of the opportunities that were being provided to Hartford students at the time, because I went to Weaver, I got a scholarship from the Hartford at the time to go to. They were giving scholarships to students who went to Trinity, Howard, or UConn. And then it's interesting because at that time, I was sort of the first in my family to think about venture to college. And so when that letter came and it was a full ride to Trinity, there were no other options, right? And it's like now you can play around with it. And I've always said to my mom that I just felt that Hartford has given us, our family, these, people that come from a really small island and really didn't think about what they could be or what they could accomplish. I just feel like Hartford has given so much to me and my family. So I wanted to find a way and find an opportunity where I could be of service to the community and to the people. And so that was always like the vision in the back of my mind. Never really thought about, how I could do that as a career. I just try to, when I was working at the Hartford, I was always volunteering with United Way. I was doing um, our um, the annual walk campaign, raising funds with my coworkers, and then I got involved in the Urban League, and so I served as the president for the Young Professional organization for 6 years, and so we were able to do some really fun stuff. It's where I really took over and grew the annual toy event. We started the first day the right way backpack school supply giveaway and resource fair. One of the things we tried to start was a STEAM Career Expo to expose students. So there was a lot of fun. I always say that I always find a way to have fun, right? I have a little too much fun while working, but then it really inspires other people to get involved. And so that sort of started my bug, and I'm just like, oh, I like this. This is fun. And at the time, I was working in HR, and I was getting ready to actually go and get my master's, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And one of my executive at the time I was serving, he was like, I'll make you a deal. You come work for me as my executive assistant. I was like, I'm like, isn't that a setback? He was like, no, I will approve it so you can go get your master's. I think you should get a master's in public administration from UConn. And I'll teach you how the Hartford makes money, and we'll figure out how to get you the type of exposure will get you where you want to be. Because I told him, I was like, I wanted to do like community relations, community engagement, that type of work. And so he was like, if you just learn about relationship management and the communications piece, that can set you up. And so that was a conversation we had in 2007, and I put it in the garage and never thought about it again. And fast forward, it was actually my so I have this thing since 2004. I do not work on my birthday. I always take that day off. And so I had left the Hartford, went to Travelers, and I got back to work because I had taken, of course, my birthday, it was my 35th birthday. I took the time off, and I got a voicemail from Mayor-elect Cronin asking me if I would join his administration. And I was just like, I really thought about it, and it was like, one of the things, I was living in Windsor at the time. I had to move back to the city. I was already planning to move back to the city. And it was just one of the things where everything aligned. Like I told him, I never told the mayor this story until actually he was leaving, how all of this sort of aligned. I actually also found the house that I live in Hartford now the day I accepted his offer to join.
Oh, wow.
So I was just like, look at God, right?
Right.
And so, that sort of like got me into this role, and really, but it was always that desire to give back to Hartford, because I just felt that it's always given so much. Like the fact that we could come from such a small island and have so much opportunity.
Right.
It might not be big. We're not wealthy, but just to have a career and have a home and build a family, and see my mom and my brother thrive, has just been, a blessing, and I'm grateful to this area for that.
Wow. So your journey is awesome. It really is awesome. And so you are the director of the Office of Community Engagement for the City of Hartford.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about what you do in that role, and why is this an important topic that we should be discussing when it comes to community engagement?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the office was first called, it was called Constituent Services. And I'm like, what does that mean? And Mayor said, well, we can change that. I was like, all right, let's do that. And so for me, it's really the non-emergency center for all things information when it comes to our residents and even visitors to the city. So we try to answer questions, direct people, provide service, from whether someone needs a housing inspection because they're a tenant and the landlord is not doing their part, or somebody see a pothole throughout the city or out street light. And so that's like the core, or the foundation from which we started on. But then I, started thinking that we can do so much more. And so that began the partnership with our neighborhoods in terms of getting someone from my team, including myself, to attend all of the neighborhood revitalization zone meetings every month, or at these community meetings, bringing information, but really listening to what's important to people. And then taking on the task of, we sometimes forget that when we work in certain settings, our language can be very technical to what we do. So being able to be that connector where I'll take technical information from our departments and try to make it very simple for our residents, what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and who to call if you have questions. And creating resources that we can share, from our resident guides to handouts, or what to do after it snows, to when to put out your leave, basic things that actually add to the quality of life of our everyday residents. And of course, I couldn't stop there because I like to have way too much fun. So that's how, we end up having an opportunity to launch the Love Your Block grant program. So now, that started, I can't believe we're going into our 6th year. It was, a small mini grant from Bluebird Philanthropy, where now we're working with Hartford Foundation to give out $250,000 of grants to residents who have ideas in our community. And so I just try to look for opportunities to listen to what our residents want and find creative and resourceful ways to help them bring that to light, or to just service them. And I think it's really important because what we do impacts our residents. So it shouldn't just be what I want or what, it's about them. And so we try to be as responsive as possible. We try to bend and flex and curve and say, okay, this is what our residents are interested in. This is what will make them happy. This is what they want to see, and try to service them in that way. So I think that, to me, is really how you get residents civically engaged. You get them to understand how to interact with their government by being responsive to their needs, and really taking the opportunity to make it a two-way conversation, right? So I can learn from them, they can learn from me, I can share information, they can share information. So that's sort of how I view it, and why I think it's so important.
So thank you so much for that, because it leads me to another question, because we are an education agency and we are a social justice agency, and we believe in, not only equity and inclusion, but also being anti-racist, right? And so we are leading the next generation. And a lot of folks who are going to watch this video are standing in front of students who are trying to figure out life.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to us to give to our next generation that's coming up about how do they get involved in community engagement? Why is it important for our next generation to get involved in community engagement?
Well, first, I want to tell them that we all still trying to figure out life. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So there's no pressure there. Getting involved, I think oftentimes we talk about it in a way that scares people, and it shouldn't have to, right? So I'll give you a story of my neighbor. So she was really interested in doing something in the neighborhood. And so I started talking to her about the Love Your Block grant. And so she said to me, I'm really sad because our local library closed and there's so many kids around here that, want to do books. And I was like, well, why don't you do something about it? Right. Yeah. And so I was like, we have this Love Your Block grant. All you need is an idea. You talk about the idea, you pitch it, you get some volunteers from the neighborhood, and we can give you $2,500 to implement that idea. If you team up with a nonprofit, you can get $25,000. But since you're just getting in, start. And so she got, she loves walking around the neighborhood. I love our little community where we live in Southwest. And so she got some neighbors to agree to do little learning libraries in our neighborhood. So there's like 7 in a network, and you just see the kids walking through the street, going from library to library. And so to me, that's getting involved, right? So I always tell people the easiest way to get involved is to think about what you like to do, what you care about, and what's important to you. Because there are so much problems to solve, and if you try to make them all on, you're just going to get overwhelmed, and you're going to say, nope, not for me. But if you say, you know what, I want to see more flowers in my neighborhood, or that wall, that'd be a cute mural wall, or I want to help the seniors in my neighbor by helping them clean their snow. Like, there's little things, and I think that's where it starts, right? You start doing it, you get well at it, you get additional support to keep doing it, and that's how you start to make change. I was laughing with one of our new president for the Urban League Young Professionals, and she was saying, I really need to get people involved, and I need to grow the leadership. And I said, girl, when I started, there was 2 of us. Right? And we were able to get support, and not only were we get people to join and become members, and I was able to get it to a membership of 50, but we also have people who weren't members who just came out and volunteered and to be a part. So don't think about the obstacles, like just start small, work against your passion, and just take it from there.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, I thought, about listening to that advice as to how I can share that with students, but that's good advice for me. That's good advice for me to just like start small, where I want to see change, just get in there and make change. Now, you mentioned something about the urban professionals.
Urban League Young Professionals.
The Urban League Young Professionals. So I definitely want to tap that a little bit and learn a little bit more about that. And what other civic efforts have you been involved in?
Yeah, so the Urban League of Greater Hartford Young Professional is a group of it's a group of volunteers. It's a volunteer auxiliary, 21 to 40 that get together, and they do service in the community. They fundraise for the Urban League. They focus on advocacy, and they have social events. We used to have White Tea Fridays, where we just meet up at a new spot that we want to check out and just exhale at the end of the work week. So it was a great urban event organization that really focused on getting young Black minorities together and just having a safe space to just interact and build your professional network. And for me, one of the lasting things from it is that there's about 90 different chapters around the country. And so when we meet up for conference, it was a movement. Like my friend, I just popped into Florida because I just wanted I wanted some sun on the beach just for my birthday. And one of my former presidents, she just surprised me and showed up and joined my best friend. And we all got together and she just came and hang out with us for the day. So those are the type of net you build and continue to build. For me, I serve on I'm the board chair for Rebuilding Together Hartford. It was an organization that I saw was really life-changing for my mother, right? It's an organization that actually helped keep Hartford residents in their home. It provides emergency repair, like whether it's a boiler, a roof, and rebuilding day. So the last Saturday in April every year is rebuilding day. This year we're going to be setting up shop at Rawson and doing 15 homes in the neighborhood. And we have contractors that come out, they change windows, doors, they do electrical work. And so it's, again, one of those things where I found something that I care about and it brings meaning to me. So even when I'm tired and exhausted, I still find fuel in the tank to donate to that organization and give back. And I think that's the key to involvement.
That's awesome. Like you have me like welling, like, let me put my hands to the plow. What can I do? How can I help out? Give me some work gloves. Let me get in there and do it.
Absolutely.
So that kind of opens up another door in conversation because I saw how you lit up when you talked about that project, right? What's the most rewarding part of your job?
There's so many.
I was gonna say it's probably a lot.
I think for me, it's just the fact that I have the opportunity to make a difference. Just the fact that I have an opportunity to give back. There are so many moments like buried in there that just, and the fact that so many residents put their trust in me to help solve their problems or address their issue. I went to the store because my mom, she just retired. My cousin is taking her on vacation. I went to Marshall's with her and I ran into a fellow coworker who was like, I know the administration, but are you still with us? And I was like, yes, I'm staying. And she was like, can I do my happy Baptist dance? And I was just like, that was so, like, I was just like, she was like, yes, we need you. I'm so happy you're staying. And it's just, those little moments that just, make me feel seen and feel valued. And I'm grateful that Mayor Bronin, saw me and gave me that opportunity to serve my community. And for me, even on the worst day where you're just like, oh, why is it Monday and not Friday? I still, I do not take for granted the fact that I get to serve my community and a community that has given so much to me.
Wow. So I know like folks like to talk about challenges and difficulties, but I like to call it pressure, right? Because pressure produces diamonds.
Yeah.
So can you share what are some of the things that causes pressure for the role that you are in, or what causes, sometimes the heat is turned up a little bit. So what would you find are some of those things that, as a part of your job, builds these beautiful diamonds, but you always need the pressure? So
how much time do you have? For me, I think one of the things that build pressure is that you tend to deal with, because everybody is an expert and has a PhD in solving every single problem, right? And so one of the things that I try to do is I really like to do things with our community and not to it. And I want to work on behalf of the residents. I don't want to come in and say, oh, I know best, I think this will work, and just implement it on our residents. I feel like they should be our thought partners. We should hold hand with them. We should be honest with them, and we should lead with them that way. I think oftentimes everyone has an idea and they want you to implement yesterday. And it's like, you didn't solve this. So this is a complete waste. And what are you doing? And it's just like, you telling me of the 92,352 successes we have, that 0.5 is what's going to take over this month. And so I think the pressure comes because there's political pressures, there's people who know people and call, and it's like they want everything solved instantly right now. And I understand that we're running a marathon and it's not a sprint. And so we need to take time and implement, because if we go too fast, we may be going alone and we may not be really seeing whether or not something will work for our community or if it's something our community want. And so that is what I try to balance, is the pressure of doing everything now and solving everything versus working hand in hand with our residents, so that when something is implemented, when a change comes, they're more willing to give you grace and to walk hand in hand with you on that.
I like that, especially the part where you said, I don't want to do it to the community. I want to do it with the community. Because a lot of times ideas are done to the community and not with the community getting input. So I love that type of process. So going with that, right? Because when we talk about, marginalized communities, doesn't mean that they're not powerful communities, right?
Yeah.
They're just communities that might need folks and places to empower the voice and not take away their voice. Why do you feel it's so important for you to champion these causes? Like, why do you feel like in your heart? Because I feel it coming through the screen, how passionate you are about this. And why do you feel that this is important?
Well, because it's for people like my mom, right? People like my mom and all her friends and the other people that we all know in the community. They get up every day, they pay their taxes on time, they don't drive too fast, they go to church, they come home, they go to the grocery store, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
My mom wants to, my mom wants to plant her grass, make sure her grass is perfect. All the neighbors are now taking cues from her and doing it. She wants to put up her Christmas decorations by Halloween. And she just wants to live, peacefully. She wants to enjoy her home and the little piece of heaven that she created. And I think so many of our residents do that, and they deserve that. Right? And so oftentimes we focus on the 1% who's being destructive, the 1% who has access, the 1% who's the noisiest. But I wanna focus on helping the people that need that little encouragement, need somebody to advocate for them, and is just out there doing the best they can with what they got, and they're just making it work until they get something different. And so I think it's really important that we uplift those people, we stand up for those people, because oftentimes those are the people who are taken advantage of the most. And I think so many of us are in a position of power to do something different. And by power, I don't mean like a title, or you have the physical strength, the mental strength, the mental capacity to do something, to speak up. And oftentimes we don't. And so I just want to be able to champion that piece. And I think that is how we keep our society going, and that's how we continue to build a great society.
Wow. So I can identify, I have similar story, born and raised in Hartford, same schools, the neighborhood, parents, same thing, paying their taxes, driving their cars, yards up the par. So I totally feel that, and that resonates with me, and that makes my heart so happy and so glad that we have someone like you championing for the people. So last question that I have for you is, what is something about your work that people don't realize that you do, or is incorporated, or a skill even that you need to have to do what you do?
Well, I think you need to be able to think outside the box. You need to be able to see a problem and figure out how to connect the dots to get all those that are necessary at the table to address it. And the individuals who have the ability to open the doors and unlock have the keys to unlock the solutions to solve it. I think, it's easy to walk away from the hard stuff. It's often, we find it so easy to say, not my monkey, not my circus, when it takes us 2 seconds to add value to that. We sometimes take information and we eat it versus sharing it, because it does not do us no harm to share it. I always say, I always encourage, I said, take a selfish approach to life. You truly want to be selfish in life? Here's how you do it. You make make sure all your neighbors are doing good. They have access to jobs, they have access to resources, because then what? You have a better quality of life in your neighborhood, right? So that's truly how, if you really want to be selfish or think about you, the world can't be good if everybody else around you is suffering. You're going to suffer too, because you're going to feel it in one way or the other. And I tell people that's the key to this, right? And so for me, being able to build relationships that I can call on to solve problems, to grant access, I think that's my sweet spot in this role. I may not have the answer, but I know who to call to get it. And if I don't, I know who I'm going to call, and they're going to get me that answer, right? My staff always jokes with me, and they said, nobody says no to you. And I was like, what do you mean? We all work with everything. And it was like, I called three people, and no one got back to me. And I said, well, maybe they're not available. And she said, well, you try. And so I called, and she was like, say, answer the phone. I'm like, it's okay, it's okay. But it's just, one of those things where building relationships is the most important. People understand that. And I'm not talking about, I don't have to talk to you every single day. I don't even have to talk to you every week, but I check in on you. And when you need something, if you call me, I'm not going to take it. Oh, I haven't called you. You called me yesterday. No, we all busy. We all trying.
Right.
We all doing the best we can. I may have cried in my pillow last night. You don't know, but I showed up. And I'm hoping that when I call and say, hey, can you help me solve this problem? You just say, sure, what do you need if you're able to? And I think with that's the, you can have the degree and the background and those, technical skills, but I think at the heart of it is that relationship building, that problem solving, that's really going to help you thrive in these roles.
Wow. So in summary, what I hear is we have to think outside of the box, that we can be a little selfish if it's going to empower our community, because when we don't empower our community, we suffer too. That line really resonated with me. I also heard you say that relationships are key, which brings us back to community. And, Black folks are community driven, right? We're all about community in the village. And so I hear that as one of the soft skills that you use. And I love the fact that you said you can have all the degrees in the world, but if you don't have the heart of the work, it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people are going to know. They're going to know. They're going to know when you're just pretending to care.
Yeah. Well, Miss Janice Castle, thank you so much. Miss Janice Castle, once again, is the director of the Office of Community Engagement for the City of Hartford. And she just gave us a wealth of information. So I hope you all took notes. And I hope that you are inspired. I'm inspired to do something and to get involved, because we can start small and make change. Any last parting words you want to leave with us, Ms. Castle? Anything, any words of encouragement, any mantra that you go by to help encourage us, affirmation? What would you share?
I want to thank you. This has been a really great conversation. And, sometimes having these conversations not only uplifts others, but it actually gives you an extra boost in your own step. So thank you for that, because I needed a little extra today. But I think for me, I just want to remind everybody that we're all here trying, and we do not all have the answers. And some days we have good days, and some days we have bad days. And the most important thing is that we get up, we keep trying, we ask for help when we need it, and we just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And together we will. And together we can.
Thank you, Ms. Castle, for your time. I totally appreciate you. And I hope to cross your path at some point in the future.
I think we will.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.